Welcome to Biggest Spoilars, the destination for exclusive spoilers, latest updates.
General Hospital recap for Friday. December reveals that Willow Kane reunited Scout Quartermain with her family while Charlotte Cassadine's Valentin Cassadine concession stunned Rocco Falconeri. At Laura Collins and Kevin Collins' place on Friday's GH occasion, a vacation gathering got underway. Rocco, Charlotte and Lulu Spencer arrived along with Sonny Corinthos, who was wearing a Santa chapeau and had a bag of gifts. While Charlotte and Rocco were playing a game with Ace Cassadine at the table, Charlotte shocked her family with the news that she'd seen Valentin. Over with Sonny, he comforted Laura that the Professor Henry Hank Dalton drama was worth it now that Rocco was doing well. Sonny also participated a moment with Kevin, who was thankful to Sonny for coming to Laura's deliverance. Laura watched hard as Sonny and Kevin shook hands. At Drew Kane's house, he worked on a damage control strategy over the phone now that Portia Robinson had exposed his blackmail plot. Willow participated a quiet moment with Scout, who wished Drew would let her see her family for the leaves. Subsequently, Willow refocused Scout's sadness out to Drew, who didn't want to back down on the trouble he made to Alexis Davis. It was Drew's decision, but Willow pushed him to let Scout see her family and consider this a Christmas present for his son as well as his woman. At the Quartermain manse, Wiley Corinthos and Leo Quartermain went on the quest for a frog they'd accidentally unleashed inside the house. Cody Bell also gave Tracy Quartermain updates on his decision to go see Molly Lansing Davis and offer gratefulness for her Christmas Eve favor. Although Tracy was missing Monica Quartermain and a little irked over how Boxing Day was playing out, Michael Corinthos gave her a vim talk. At Alexis Davis's place, she was working way too hard on Willow's case and was low on sleep. Molly and Christina Corinthos Davis induced her to relax with them as they ate poles and watched a romantic film on the lounge together. Molly freaked out when Cody showed up at the door since she wasn't exactly dressed for callers. Still, Molly let Cody in and participated a kiss with him after agreeing to celebrate New Year's Eve together. Willow ultimately showed up with Scout, who ran over to join Alexis, Christina, and Molly for a warm family grasp. It was Jen Sidwell's tradition to host a Boxing Day party, so Lucas Jones got all dressed up and joined Marco Rios for it at Windmere. Lucy Coe arrived and sounded disappointed to learn it wasn't going to be a private festivity with Sidwell. Ava Jerome was there and caught up with Lucas, who admitted he set up Pascal creepy. Pascal kept glaring at Lucas and did nothing to change his mind. Once Jordan Ashford showed up, Sidwell told her about Drew and Willow coming to the party. Sidwell wanted to have a strategy session soon and figure out how to get Drew re-elected after the hit his character had taken. Lucy sounded jealous as Ava and Sidwell clicked over art, but Ava advised Lucy that she wouldn't stand in the way of her connection to her customer. Drew eventually made it to the bash, but Willow wasn't with him yet since she was busy dropping Scout off at Alexis' place. Back at the Quartermain estate, Sonny joined the fests following Michael's assignation with Tracy's blessing. Ned Quartermain, Olivia Quartermain and Brooke Lynn Quartermain, Giovanni Gio Palmieri and Emma Scorpio Drake were also around for the Boxing Day fun. Sonny and Ned spoke compactly about knowing when the time was right, so they were easily talking about their violin gift for Gio. Leo set up that violin latterly and assumed it was a forgotten Christmas present, but Sonny and Ned explained they were staying until Gio was ready to play music again. Leo encouraged Gio to play along with Wiley, who allowed. Tracy would like it since she'd been sad about Monica. Gio cautiously took the violin out of the case and sounded a bit reticent to go through with this. As Gio stepped down to collect himself, he plotted with recollections of smashing his violin on stage. Brooke Lynn popped up to give Gio support, so that was the drive he demanded to play for all the party guests. After Joe's emotional tune, Tracy thanked him with a clinch and said that was beautiful. General Hospital spoilers say Gio will hopefully continue to get back into music, so stay tuned. In Carly's garret, Valentin put up his own Christmas tree, but Donna was on the verge of chancing him. Jack offered Carly a Christmas gift, but he made her pledge to stay before she opened it. Carly knew that Donna demanded to see Sonny for the vacation, so she couldn't spend time with Jack. He was fine with the decision. Jack claimed that he no way anticipated falling for Carly as hard as he did, but these effects have a way of passing. Donna intruded Jack and Carly and told them that Santa Claus left a Christmas tree for them in the garret. Christina showed up right after that with a strip for Donna's gift to her father, which helped distract from the threat of blowing Valentin's cover. Carly contended up to the garret, and Valentin thanked her for allowing him to hide out there. He was having a delicate time spending his first Christmas down from Charlotte. Jack left and asked someone whether they were ready to pull the detector on Britt. Formerly they verified, he ordered them to expedite it. At Sunny's, the Christmas fests demurred into high gear. Everyone was in a gleeful mood, but Dante's appearance surely shifted the atmosphere a bit. He wished Merry Christmas to everyone, and utmost people in the room wished it back to him, except for Rocco, who just still jounced. Lulu asked Charlotte about her father and if she was allowing about him on the vacation. Although she missed Valentin, Charlotte was thankful to spend Christmas with Rocco and Lulu. Gio encouraged Rocco to extend an olive branch to Dante because he was trying to make amends. Rocco talked to Charlotte about his issues with Dante, but she couldn't relate. She desperately wanted to see her father, so watching Rocco take his for granted, she prompted him to fix it. Charlotte wanted Rocco to suppose about how hard Dante was trying to make effects right. Dante suggested to Sunny that he exit the family event and head to work, because he allowed. Sunny had made effects uncomfortable by being there. Sunny reminded him that they'd been through tough times ahead, and he demanded to let Rocco ride it out. Gio told Sunny he'd to get to the Scorpio Christmas party, so he'd have to make an exit. He told Sunny that he was avoiding Dante, but he'd another commitment. Before he left, Sunny told him that learning he was his grandson was the stylish part of 2025. Carly eventually showed up at Sunny's house, and she was surprised to learn that Sunny and Ned went together for a new violin for Gio. They hadn't given it to him yet because they hadn't entered a sign that he was ready to dive back into the musical world. Carly noticed Charlotte looking at the key that she intimately slipped, and she had a suggestion that Charlotte would make an appearance to surprise Valentin for Christmas. Carly made up a story about a geniture set in her garret and asked Charlotte to accompany her. Charlotte was about to witness a Christmas phenomenon. Brooklyn was alive about celebrating Christmas with Maxie's family, especially after Chase was suspended from the PCPD. Still, Chase wanted to be there and didn't want his professional status to sour the moment. Nathan and Cody have a surprise gift planned for James, and they hope it'll arrive in time for Christmas. Still, Cody got an alert that it was delayed. Liesl and Nina arrived at the same house for the family fests as well. Nathan confessed to Liesl that he wished Britt spent the vacation with the family. Still, he noticed that Cody was gearing up to leave and asked what was going on. Cody explained that he demanded to pick up the gift himself, so he'd to leave. Nathan offered to take James to see Maxie the following week, which he agreed to. Cody telephoned Molly and asked for help with commodity involving James. Gio arrived at the Scorpio party and was met with a big kiss from Emma, who handed him a large Christmas gift. Liesl told Nina to boost her morale because she was bringing everyone down with her dimmed station. Still, Nina felt shamefaced about Portia being broken down on the stage in front of everyone. Thankfully for everybody, Molly came through for Cody and Nathan and arrived with the ultra-secret gift. At General Hospital, Elizabeth checked on Portia as she gutted out her office. Thankfully, Portia was suspended rather than fired, so she hoped to return to work in the near future. Portia reflected about her career being the only thing she might be suitable to regain after what happened in the courtroom. Elizabeth refused to judge Portia, and Portia wished she had no way given Drew anything to blackmail her with. However, it wouldn't have led to her having a motive to shoot Drew, and the affair being exposed in open court, if she no way falsified Heather's medical records. Portia recalled how Trina refused to speak to her after her evidence. Elizabeth assured her that Trina would ultimately come around. Portia agreed, but the baby was part of the family as well. Elizabeth offered to have Portia at her house for Christmas, since the three boys were out doing different effects. Still, Portia demanded some time alone to reevaluate and regroup. Isaiah asked Portia how she was holding after what went down at Willow's trial, and he allowed. They made the stylish choices they could. He hoped he was the father of her happy and that they could spend Christmas as a family. Also at GH, Britt was working on Christmas, and if that wasn't bad enough for her, she was trapped with Lucas. He suggested they put their differences away for one evening. Lucas donated to be there, which she said up sickening, since she had been called in. He asked what she would have been doing if she were at work, and she explained that it might be stylish if she stayed at home to avoid pressure with Liesel. Britt entered a textbook from Liesel with a print of her and Nathan together. Lucas allowed. It was sweet that her mama made the trouble to shoot it to her. In another Christmas phenomenon, Britt's medical license had been restored, so she could eventually exercise drug again. Back in Port Charles, Marshall returned at Curtis's request. His son incontinently opened up about Portia's maternity extremity. He could not imagine how Curtis was handling the situation. Curtis could sound how Portia could dig herself in deeper with yet another megawatt taradiddle. Curtis enlisted Marshall and Stella to concentrate on what he still had in his life. Trina and Kai arrived after that, and the family was together, except for Portia. Trina broke down to Stella about the position of wrathfulness she had toward Portia. She felt the same position of vitriol toward her mama now as when she learned Taggart was her father. Everyone was stunned when Jordan arrived at the menage for the vacation. Trina invited her, and she intimately apologized for condemning her for the bifurcation of Portia and Curtis. She asked for remission, but Jordan declared there was nothing to forgive. Trina also issued an reason to Curtis for criminating him of cheating on Portia, especially since it had been exposed that Portia was the cheater. The day in Port Charles unfolded like a ceremonial baptism, where old sins were washed away, where tears acted like sacred water, where forgiveness was whispered like prayer and rage thundered like a preacher's warning. It all began on a winter morning, the city cloaked in holiday lights that tried to hide the fractures running through families, the lies still steaming like coals beneath the festive surface. Inside Laura and Kevin's home, where garlands framed the doors like halos, loved ones gathered as though entering a chapel for sacred celebration. Rocco, Charlotte, and Lulu stepped through the doorway first, the cool air behind them disappearing as warmth consumed their arrival. Sonny Corinthos appeared then, wearing a Santa hat, almost comical against his reputation of power and unspoken threats. His bag of gifts slung over his arm resembled a red velvet Bible of seasonal offerings, blessings he would hand out only to those he deemed worthy. Children hovered around the table playing a board game, their laughter replacing hymns. It was there, innocently and without hesitation, that Charlotte leaned toward her brother and delivered a truth heavy enough to drown any innocence he had left. She had seen Valentin. Rocco's eyes widened, baptized by shock. The name itself was enough to summon storms inside hearts that waited for clarity. Sonny, meanwhile, loosened his shoulders as he assured Laura that the drama surrounding Professor Henry Dalton, the confusion, the stress, the tears, had finally been worth it. Rocco was thriving again, and that alone was victory. Sonny and Kevin shook hands, the pastor and guardian acknowledging a spiritual pact, one of mutual rescue. Laura stood back and breathed through the moment, letting herself silently drink in the sight of peace, even if she feared the peace was temporary. Across town at Drew Kane's home, another sort of cleansing was underway, though this one was tainted. Drew was pacing, phone planted to his ear, voice sharp enough to slice glass. He was conducting battle, preparing ammunition to repair his public image after Portia, in a moment of wounded pride and bitterness, exposed his blackmail scheme to the world. The weight of the threat he had delivered to Alexis Davis was now pressing against his conscience like a stone. Willow, soft-spoken and gentle like baptismal water, sat with Scout, who looked up and asked simply, quietly, if her father would allow her to be with her family on Christmas. The question was a psalm, a request for mercy. Willow, watching her daughter crumble beneath unspoken heartbreak, approached Drew. Her voice turned into a sermon, encouraging, yet firm. She told him that letting Scout celebrate with Alexis would not weaken him, but strengthen him. It would be his first step toward redemption. It would be a gift not just to Scout, but to her, to him, to all of them. Drew clenched his jaw, his pride rising like a demon refusing to leave, but her words echoed. Encouragement often sounds like threat when directed at a stubborn heart. Meanwhile, at the Quartermain mansion, chaos had its own comedic hymn. Kids roamed the halls hunting a frog that had escaped a small terrarium, its green figure symbolizing life that refuses to be contained. Cody Bell updated Tracy on his plan to visit Molly Lansing Davis and express gratitude for helping him. Tracy, meanwhile, missing Monica and bothered by Boxing Day moving in ways she didn't approve of, found herself softened by Michael Corinthos' unexpected pep talk. His presence, his grounded energy, washed over her frustrations. At Alexis Davis's home, the air was heavy with exhaustion. Alexis had been burning herself out over Willow's legal battle. Molly and Christina pulled her to the couch like siblings guiding her toward healing waters. Together, they sat with noodles and a romantic movie playing, baptizing their hearts with rest. When Cody arrived unexpectedly, Molly panicked, her attire far from appropriate. But eventually, she let him inside, and when she did, relief, affection, and silent hopes mingled between them. Their kiss became the beginning of something new, a baptism of intimacy as they planned to share New Year's Eve together. Soon after, Willow arrived with Scout, who raced into the arms of her family. Alexis' home was reborn into a sanctuary, where every heartbeat was an embrace, where every tear was a blessing. At Windmere, the annual Boxing Day party, hosted by Jen Sidwell, began like a royal feast inside a Gothic cathedral. Lucas Jones, dressed formally, entered with Marco Rios. Lucy co-attended too and immediately deflated upon realizing she was not Sidwell's exclusive guest. Ava Jerome confronted Lucas, and he confessed Pascal was creeping him out, glaring like a demon in attendance. Sidwell pulled Jordan aside to discuss strategy, plotting Drew's redemption like a congregation planning a political resurrection. Ava and Sidwell connected over art, strokes of creativity merging, and Lucy burned with jealousy as she watched. That jealousy, sharp, acidic, was a threat in itself. Ava, sensing the storm behind Lucy's eyes, whispered, not to tease, but to warn. She would not interfere with Lucy's attachment, but she would stand her ground. Drew finally entered the party. Alone. Willow had not yet arrived. He looked like a shepherd without his flock, pretending strength while everyone whispered. Back at the Quartermain estate, Sunny arrived at Michael's invitation, Tracy granting approval only because the season demanded grace. Ned, Olivia, Brooke Lynn, Gio, Leo, Wiley, all gathered. A violin sat silently, waiting, like a blessing no one dared give. Leo found it and believed it was forgotten, already meant to be opened. But Sunny and Ned told him no, it was waiting for a sign. Gio, who once destroyed his violin in a moment of trauma, was not ready. And yet, Leo encouraged him. Wiley encouraged him. Brooke Lynn encouraged him. Her voice, soft yet commanding, became the baptismal push. And Gio, trembling, opened the case. When the bow touched strings and sound emerged, time froze. His emotions poured into melody, grief, fear, hope, resurrection. Tracy, cold, stern, defensive Tracy, began to melt. She hugged him and told him the music was beautiful. A Christmas baptism, a new beginning. Up in Carly's attic, Valentin Cassadine hid like a ghost clinging to memories. He decorated a small tree, placing ornaments like confessions of regret. Donna nearly discovered him, forcing Carly to throw distractions like holy incense into the air. Jack gifted Carly something wrapped quietly, and though she promised she wouldn't open it yet, curiosity simmered. Jack admitted he loved Carly, more than he expected. But when Donna insisted Santa had visited the attic, panic spread like fire. Christina arrived, ribbon in hand, saving the moment with divine timing. Carly rushed upstairs. Valentin whispered gratitude, his heart breaking at his first Christmas exiled from Charlotte. When Jack exited, he made a phone call, voice dark and commanding. Pull the trigger on Brit. Do it faster. Encouraging words? No. A threat. Sharp and venomous. At Sunny's house, joy echoed, laughter ricocheted. But Dante entered, and silence crashed through the room. Rocco barely acknowledged him. Dante suggested Sunny step away to make things easier. Sunny, however, spoke like a pastor who had already survived trials. This storm will not drown us. Let him feel. Let him hurt. Healing comes with waves, not instant peace. Before leaving, Gio told Sonny that learning he was his grandson was the best part of the year. That statement alone was holy. Carly entered, discovering the violin story, and then caught Charlotte eyeing a secret key. She knew immediately, Charlotte was planning a miracle. So Carly, like a priestess orchestrating divine timing, asked Charlotte to join her upstairs. At the Scorpio gathering, Brooke Lynn feared joining Maxie's family, especially with Chase suspended. James awaited gifts, but they were delayed. Cody had another mission, one that involved Molly and a solution. Liesl warned Nina to lift her spirit, but Nina, racked with guilt, was drowning beneath the weight of Portia's humiliation during trial. When Molly delivered the secret gift, hearts were restored. At General Hospital, Portia packed her office. Not fired, but suspended. Her career dangling by a thread. Elizabeth stood beside her, no judgment, only empathy. Portia whispered regret. If she hadn't falsified Heather's records, if she hadn't given Drew ammunition, none of this would have erupted. She was losing everything, Trina's trust, her dignity, her foundation. Elizabeth assured her that healing comes. Eventually. But Portia wanted solitude, to mourn, to grieve, to baptize her shattered self in silence. Meanwhile, Britt worked Christmas Eve beside Lucas, forced proximity with a man she resented. They debated, insulted, breathed frustration, then, miracle, a message arrived. Her medical license was restored. She could practice again. A resurrection. Back in Port Charles, Marshall returned at Curtis' desperate plea. Curtis was unraveling, Portia's lies, Trina's heartbreak, he felt betrayed twice over. Marshall told him, focus on what remains. The family that still stands. Stella arrived. Trina arrived. Kai arrived. They formed a circle, a baptism of shared grief. Trina confessed her fury, how she hated Portia for her lies, her betrayal, the same hatred she once carried for Taggart's truth. Jordan entered. Trina apologized publicly, her words trembling, but honest. Curtis received her apology, humbled. Then, holiday montage, families uniting, joy spreading like baptismal water across the town. And then, the greatest miracle of all. Carly led Charlotte up the attic stairs, each step echoing like a church bell. She turned the handle. The door opened. Valentin stood, and upon seeing his daughter, he fell, emotion collapsing his spirit. He sobbed into her arms, words unable to escape. Charlotte clung back, both reborn by the miracle Carly had orchestrated. And as Carly stood silently in the doorway, breath steady, she witnessed a father and daughter realize. Where there is love, even after betrayal, even after exile, there is still resurrection. There is still baptism. There is still hope.